Morning.
Afternoon.
Evening.
I kind of paused there because I almost said good 2023. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to being here. If you are listening to this in the archives, well, Happy New Year. Today is the beginning of a new year for you, should you wish.
Any day could be the beginning of a new year for you,
new day,
if you
new
wish.
moment, new life. Being kind to yourself and other time-saving habits is the theme for today. And as we launch into this year ahead, and also because this weekend we are hosting transformational time and project management, and of course on Monday and Tuesday, well, we're heading off to Costa Rica after that. So
It's getting close.
it is getting close. Very exciting. I'm so happy we get to see people in person.
Yes.
Yeah. And you know, it's very interesting.
What's that idea?
When you're isolated inside your own thought process, it's so much easier to be hard on yourself. And then when you're thinking, everything takes longer. And when you're being hard on yourself, you hesitate for your actions.
Well, see, you can interact with your life directly, or you can think about it. If you interact with your life directly, you look and you see what's needed, see what's wanted, and produce it. Simple. If you ponder what to do with your life, what to do with your day, you know, that's why working is so therapeutic for people, because if they have a job to go to, the job dictates what they need to do during the course of that 8-hour or so period of time. And then they complain to themselves they have to be there, of course, because that seems to be the reality on planet Earth. Whatever you're doing isn't it. So you complain about it to yourself, like as if you were doing something else, you'd be happier. Hasn't been my experience that people get happy. Even if you pay them a lot more money, they don't get happy. You know, there's a threat of strikes for more money, but if you give them more money, then they'll strike for something else. It's like nothing's ever enough, especially if you're a parent. You see that in your children.
Now, Shya, you have to listen here, because listening is key. Your mind can shoot off to agreements or objections, like when Shya is talking about people striking and that it will never be enough. You get more, you strike for more money, you get more money, and it's still not enough. He's not saying people should not strike for more money. He's addressing that internal conversation that always is looking for more, better, and different. People should get an appropriate wage for what work they do. However, he's talking about the complaining nature of our minds.
I keep Ariel around to translate for me, you see, because I say things and most people say, oh, you can't say that.
It's just so cynical, or no, he sees clearly. Very interesting conversation we had at a recent holiday. We had family, friends over for a holiday. And one of the things that we did was take our large table, garden table, off our deck and store it under cover for the winter. And the table has got a metal base and it has a stone top. So Shya got our little, what do you call that?
Trailer.
The trailer pulled on the XTV. What is that? A little four-wheel drive vehicle, a little tiny one. He backed the trailer up, and Shya and two men and a
teenager,
to be 15-year-old, moved the table on to the thing and then brought it around and unloaded it and put it in the covered space. And we were talking about it over the meal. And I mentioned that there have been times that Shia has moved that table onto the garden cart all by himself. And our teenage grandson said, "How's that possible?" And Shia said, "Well, I'm strong and I look to see how it wants to move and I do that." And he said, "How's that possible? That's not possible." And Shia said, "Well, I'm strong and I look to see how it wants to move and I do that." And he said, "No, that's not possible." But that is Shia's direct access way to life. And I am so grateful to be living with him because he looks and he sees what wants to happen and he does what comes next, as opposed to talking to himself about how he might have done it wrong in the past. And have you been talking about how you might have done last year better? Well, let's talk about those 3 principles.
First principle. Anything you don't like, you repeat.
Second principle, you can only be exactly as you are in this instant, and that goes back through time. You could only have been exactly as you were in any given instant. Third principle, and this is the being kind to yourself and other time-saving habits version.
Anything you see and allow to be exactly as it is completes itself in the moment you see it.
So you do something like I was grating ginger the other day. I got a tad distracted and I grated my knuckle. So I have this little scab on my knuckle. I can either work on that and be hard on myself, or just having seen it is enough. I do not think I will do that again anytime soon, or perhaps ever, because I've discovered our little mini grater is actually a very
It doesn't
sharp
discriminate.
object.
It doesn't
It
discriminate
doesn't.
between ginger and flesh.
But if I were being unkind to myself, then I would be talking to myself about how unaware. And I'm sure many of you do that. Shall we take our first guest?
Yes, Les.
All right, Renat. Welcome to being here. Where are you zooming in from?
Hi, Ariel and Shya. Here is Renat, and I'm zooming in from Biesserach in Switzerland.
Welcome and Happy New Year.
Yes.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too. It's so good to listen to you. I had to smile already so many times when you said like when you're thinking and being hard on yourself and the time saving habit, and I just got a flashback like many years back. I was really hard on myself back then, and I learned with you guys to drop that. I'm sure I'm like still sometimes hard on myself, but it's just so much more fun and juicier when I can allow myself to be kind to myself. So I'm so grateful that I got to know you and to know your strategy, or not a strategy, to know transformation, because it's just so valuable to me. Yes.
Well, you say, I'm sure I'm hard on myself still sometimes, only when you're upset. When you're already upset, if you're not upset, you do something, you might have that thought that goes by like, oh, we're not, what, of course, it's probably in Swiss, mine is in English. But if you're pretty upset and you say, oh, we're not, then it follows and you believe that is true.
Yeah, that's cool that you say that, because there are situations where I really believe it. That's like when you say like Renat, I say it like this in German, in Swiss German, and I sometimes see now that when I can be that I was already upset. Like yesterday at lunch break, my husband came home, and I was I was not stingy. I fired, how you say that? I fired like not kind things at him. I was, we have a saying in Swiss German that's like, oh, I was poking at him. That's the word. I was poking at him, but I saw that he did nothing wrong, that I was already like so next to myself. And I saw it because there were times where I didn't realize that. And I saw that and could talk to him about it. And that was just great.
What you said is so good. I want to back up and repeat it. First of all, what is the, because I'm curious, what is the word in Swiss German for poking? What was the word, the phrase you were going to?
Stichle.
Stichle?
Stichle. It's like with a stick, with a wooden stick, and then go and poke someone. It's stichle. Yeah.
Stichle.
Yes.
I love that she can see now when she's like beside herself. She said
I like that, beside herself.
that it's coming out, and she was like spring loaded. It's almost like you have a slingshot, you pulled back the rock, you're waiting for him to walk through the door, and you let go of the elastic part, and the rock goes boom. You hit him. And in the past, you used to think it was true, he was irritating, and you were going to let him know.
See, most people think that something outside themselves causes their mood changes, their upsets. And really, it doesn't come from outside. If you're not already upset, people do things, you don't get upset. But if you are upset, then you blame it on your husband.
Yeah, and the cool thing was that I realized then that I really was upset. I didn't realize it before he came home that I was already so upset. But when I saw how I reacted, I was like, "Ui, something's up with me."
So then what did you do? How did you handle it? Because that's a really good. So did you talk about it? Did you apologize? What happened?
He realized for sure, and I think, I'm not sure, but I said, I feel I have to, I want to poke you like all the time, or I poked him already, so it's not already. But then we talked about it, and we just realized like we both were like tired, and there were some stuff going on in my mind that stressed myself. And then it really relaxed, and it was like lovely just spending time together.
Oh, sweet. Very sweet. I realize in the title we say being kind to yourself and other time-saving habits. The moment she poked him,
Yes.
she stepped into being kind to herself. Because
well, that sounds like poking people makes you kind to yourself.
no, I'm saying after she poked him and saw that she did it,
yes,
she could have compounded it by going, why am I such a crabby person? Where you have the conversation, and if she sees it and says, whoa, I'm sorry, you're already being kind to yourself for having stepped into the upset.
Or saw the reality of it rather than casting blame on someone else.
Mm-hmm. Even yourself, there's a difference between responsibility and blame. So you were responsible for poking your husband, but blame is responsibility with a on top of it. You like mine?
Well, I think it's more like you would rather have it be him that causes your upsets than you who have upsets.
Yeah, that's like, for me, the easier how you say, easier way, or like the way I'm more used to, that it's him, and that's not me as a, yeah.
Well, what if he is a reflection of how you're being? And he shows up great when you're well, and when you're upset, he's always a problem. And he's always the problem that caused you to be upset.
Like it.
In those moments, you blame your outside circumstances for how you feel, but that never gets rid of it. You see, what gets rid of it is seeing it and realizing that it's yours. That the feeling of anger that shows up in you is you in that moment. And if you don't make it wrong or right, you can make it right by blaming it on somebody else. But if you don't make it wrong or right, but just feel it, it completes itself in an instant.
I'm so grateful that I learned that and keep on learning that. So that's,
Yeah, it's easy to forget, isn't it?
yes.
This is how Shya and I live. This is what we talk about here at Being Here and on the Living Made Easy seminars and whatnot. And yet, while I'm sitting here next to Shya and listening to him, and he says, what if your husband how he shows up is up to you? It comes from you. And I heard it. There have been times where, for instance, I'll go out shopping and I find the way people are driving irritating. And then I realize, oh, wow, I must be irritated. And it's that they're showing up as irritations comes from me. And I see it with Shya also, as he's sitting here today and I'm finding him magnificently brilliant. Well, he is. However, that also comes from me. And the reverse is also true. If I perceive him in a different way, it comes from me rather than there's something wrong with him. And of course, there's nothing wrong with me either when I'm perceiving things in a grouchy way. It's an indicator that I'm upset.
I like it. Also that you said when you go out into the world and realize how you perceive like the people or the traffic around you. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you for spending part of your day with us.
Yes.
We really are grateful.
Thank you so much. It was a treat to me.
So I have a question. How old is your daughter now?
Like in January, she is like 10 months.
So is she sitting in your lap? We can thank her also.
She's now playing, but she sometimes make a little bit like noises like
Well, you can thank her also for being so kind as to let you chat with us.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Thank you so much. Alrighty then. Drum roll, please. You sound like our cat. It's time for our listener feedback spotlight while Shya is here purring with me. We get to hear from one of our listeners
about how transformation has impacted their lives. And if you'd like to learn more or register for any of our upcoming courses, visit transformationmadeeasy.com.
Yeah.
And when I say easy, it's like the fire swamp.
Yeah, join us.
If you know your way through it, it's easy. If you have a good guide, it's easy. If you don't, well, there's rodents of unusual size. There's lightning sand.
All those
thing?
I don't remember.
Oh, and the fire spurts. Right.
There you go.
There you go.
We're great
Transformation made easy.com.
I'm Rita, living in Bern, Switzerland. And when I listened to the podcast from Ariel and Shya came, it's always as a wellness for my soul. Like to get a massage for my body is the podcast wellness for my mind, for my soul.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel and Shya's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
This weekend is transformational time in project management.
That's January 7th and 8th.
So feel free to join us. There's room for you. It's a great way to launch into this year. Why not? Let's be kind.
Why not have the new year not be a resolution to be better, but a way of discovering the brilliance that already exists in the moment?
A celebration. Living Made Easy.
That's our 2-hour virtual seminar on Monday,
January 9th.
Correct.
And then we're off to Costa Rica. So all of you who are joining us in Costa Rica, we're looking forward to seeing you very, very soon. We have 2 weeks of courses. If you want to come with us to Costa Rica,
There's still time.
you must come to this seminar this weekend first if you want to know more.
Unless you've been to a weekend seminar with us in the past year.
But chances are this is a little late for folks, so stay tuned for next year. Yeah, that's what we have upgoing. If you want to upcoming, we are going upcoming.
Yes.
If you want to come to a Living Made Easy and you can't make it next Monday, just check our schedule and find
It's
out.
on our website,
transformationmadeeasy.com. We finish each other's sentences.
We do.
We didn't mention that, but we do.
We just did.
Okay, let's call Dave in.
Hey, Dave.
Welcome to being here.
Hi guys, it's good to be here with you. I am zooming from Winnipeg in Canada.
So nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
Is it cold in Winnipeg?
It's not very cold today. We still have snow, but the temperature has come up to above freezing today.
Now, mind you, we are pre-recording this, so when this airs, it'll probably be pretty darn chilly there.
Yeah, I bet you.
Yeah. So we're recording this in November, and January is usually very cold in Winnipeg.
But I hear cold is good for you.
Yeah.
I heard recently that going out in the cold enlivens.
Yeah, it's
people.
good for your heart.
Well, that's good. I'm in the right place then.
That's right. How can you not be in the right place?
Well, that's a question, isn't it?
Pretty soon you're going to be in Costa Rica and you'll be in the right place there too.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
What for you today, sir?
So I've attended your seminars for a long number of years.
Yes.
And one of the things that you say that I hear it, but I'm not sure I really experience it all the time. And it's that however you are is perfect. So if I'm happy, if I'm upset, however my life shows up is perfect in that moment.
Okay, so let's look at perfection. If you look in a dictionary for the word perfect to see what it means, it says whole, full, complete, lacking no component part, immutable, can't be changed because it's exactly as it is.
So an example they give is a perfect circle. If the circle, and since you're an engineer, this will work for you. If the circle's dimensions are exact, it's perfect. So it's exact. You're hearing that statement through change. There's a difference between change and transformation. In transformation, you have the exactness. In change, you have perfection as a judgment. So you're working for perfection there, and not perfect is a judgment. Perfect is a judgment. as opposed to an exact circle is exact. So let's say you drew a circle and it's wobbly. That's a perfect wobbly circle. It's not a circle, but whatever the shape is.
Oval.
In that moment, it can only be exactly
The way it is.
so you may want to.
So let's go. This is the second principle, basically, of instantaneous transformation, that you can only be exactly as you are in the current moment of your life. Well, if that's the case, then you're perfect. If you can't be different than you are, it's a perfect you in that moment.
It's whole, it's complete, it's immutable. In the instant, if I take a snapshot, if we could put a snapshot of you.
That's a good one. If I take a snapshot of you and you're yawning, then your mouth will be open because you're yawning. And it's a perfect you in that
Instant of time when the snapshot was taken.
captured your image. So could you be different than that?
No.
In that moment? See,
But
Jay,
you would look at that picture and say, oh, that's not a perfect picture.
that's not a good picture.
I don't look so good. That you can see my tonsils. Oh my gosh, you can see that my fillings. I mean, your judgment system comes into play. Perfect is not through the judgment system. It's about being exactly as you are in a moment of time.
And you can't be different than you are. I mean, see, this is why I think causes people so much pain, is their unwillingness to be responsible for their own experience. When we met you, the reason you were a mess in your own estimation was your father did it wrong.
There were other factors, but there was primarily.
There were other people along the way too.
Did it wrong too, but your life was the effect of the circumstances rather than you are exactly the way you are, not because of anything.
Mm.
See, in change, you find reasons to blame other people for your life. With transformation, this is how my life has turned out in this moment. And it can't be different. And I couldn't have been different in any previous moment, even though I have thoughts that I could have been.
But, again, I just feel like I need to contextualize what Shya has to say, because people's actions around us do impact us. If you're driving down the street and somebody's a drunk driver and their car collides with yours and you have an injury, that person impacted the quality of your life in that moment. So he's not saying that things that our parents, for instance, did or didn't do
Don't have an effect.
Impact.
Mm.
However, we generally blame our state on
The circumstances.
the circumstances.
So, see, your mind functions as a survival machine, and it's got more, different, and better than what you've got. No matter how your life is showing up, it could be different, it could be better, and you could have more, whatever, money, fun, what you can fill in the blank on more.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to destroy anything that you have, because what you have is never enough for that internal conversation that's always complaining that this isn't it, that you need something more, different, or better. Well, then nothing is ever satisfying. But if you discover that this really is where your life is taking place, this moment, this is your life, congratulations. Because your life is a miracle if you really get it. But no two things can occupy you at the same time. So if you're busy complaining about anything, you miss out on your life.
Mm.
It's an unfolding that's taking place now in this moment, and no two things can occupy you at the same time. So you can either be lost in the complaint, which most people are, and there's a lot of agreement for, or you can be experiencing being alive.
Just giving you a heads up, or heads up and down, heads up and down. You've been nodding this whole time Shya is speaking. He says things, you nod, but this is not video.
Yes.
We're on video, so it might be cool if you speak up about your experience.
Yes. Yeah, everything that you say, I want to step back to the topic of responsibility, because when I first met you, I was definitely not feeling good about myself or my life. And I had the idea that it was happening to me, that all the things that were going on were other people doing it to me. And something that you told me over and over, and at some point I saw it, was that in the center of all those relationships and experiences was me. And
yeah,
I
but you see
love that.
but you see, the problem is you didn't have a way to integrate what that person said, because then you would blame you. See, you wouldn't just see it and say, yeah, I got something to do with this. You'd go, yeah, there's something wrong with me.
oh, exactly.
Fault with yourself rather than realize the perfection of the universe is an unfolding that you are part of.
And I love that you said that, because at first you say you're the center of all these relationships. And since we've been raised in change, our minds are still and always will be structured in change. If you're the center and you perceive things as troubled or wrong, then you must be the wrong one, rather than, I have tension in this relationship. This relationship has tension. And rather than blame, right, wrong, good, bad, better, worse, the blame factor disappears and responsibility comes to the foreground, but not with blame.
Not with blame, not with shame, not with guilt. Just that if it's happening in your moment, you're responsible for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that.
Understand it either. Yeah, because you try to understand why you are the way you are rather than just experience it. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That,
it's
go ahead.
interesting, Dave, because as we're speaking, I realized we're coming up, as you mentioned, we're recording this in November. We're coming up on the year anniversary of our son's tragic death. He fell off the roof, hit his head, at a catastrophic brain injury for which he did not survive. So we did not cause that. It was a happening, but we're responsible. We're not. It's hard to articulate this, but it's in our lives. What we do with it is up to us. We can, similarly, your
Well,
mom.
look, here's the other thing. Each moment is a perfect moment. It shows up exactly as it does, and there's nothing you can do about it.
And some
It's
things we like.
complete. Well, it's complete in the moment it shows up, and that's the truth. So when our son fell off a roof and died, that was what happened. Now, I have friends who lost a son about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and they're still in the incident as though it happened yesterday, because they're trying to figure out what they could have done to forestall it, to not have it happen. But you see, it's happened.
Yeah.
There's nothing. Your life has shown up the way it has. But how you go about this moment, you've got some say in.
You know, and I think I know your mom had a disease that was terminal and she died when, you were younger, and I'm certain at that early age, you got stuck in a loop of it's not fair.
I definitely did.
Yeah. And so I see that that is dissolved and not fair. It happened. And now you have this moment. And when you're locked in, it's not fair. You're being hard on yourself.
Well, Ariel
Yeah.
said, now you have this moment and you go to, well, I don't want it to change now.
Yes, it's true.
Things are pretty good now. I want things to stay good.
Yeah,
But it keeps changing and you got nothing to do with that. You can't change change. Change shows up. It's part of life. Life is based in change, you see,
Yeah.
in that, you know, molecules are made up of atoms that are constantly in change, in movement. The whole universe is in a state of changing moment to moment.
Mm.
So to try to stop that from happening is only a frustration for you because you know, so you have a girlfriend in England and
Yes.
you worry about her health.
Yeah.
See, you worry about, I don't want to lose her. I've already gone through this. I don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
That's just the way your mind works, man. You can either be lost in those thoughts, which show up when you're not engaged in your life. Because in reality, Tanya's fine in this moment.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you don't worry about that relationship ending because your relationship with your mom ended. As did a lot of people's relationship with their mom.
You know, it's wild.
Well,
3 years ago now, people could not conceive COVID was coming.
that's true.
We don't know what's coming.
That is true.
We can either meet it or go, oh.
But the other thing is that your reality is based on what you know and know you don't know. You know you don't know certain things. Like, are you big into astronomy?
No.
So you don't know about astronomy.
You don't
right?
know all the star names.
Right.
Right.
You
Right.
know what you know, and you know what you don't know. But then there's everything else called a universe that's an unfolding that is completely outside our control. So you
Yeah.
can either enjoy the ride called your life, or you can worry about how it's going to end.
Yeah. I do that when I'm feeling, what's the word? Well, when I'm feeling upset, when I'm stuck, I go off into the future and try to work out how it's going to turn out.
Upsets are based in real or imagined threats to your survival.
Mhm.
Well, and I think a lot of the people who listen to this show are now educated in the possibility of transformation. They're educated in the subject of listening, in being here. And one of the things that has developed is the idea upset bad, centered good.
Yes.
So when you say, yes, I get upset, sometimes it's almost like confessing. I'll get upset sometimes, as opposed to part of life is upsets. They come upon you and then, now what?
Yeah.
Well,
That's,
if you resist them, you're stuck in them. If you see it and allow it to be exactly as it is, it completes itself. And, when I say see it and allow it to be exactly as it is, in the seeing, it completes itself, not that you have to do anything about it. But if you're determined to be right, then you hold on to your upsets. You got to be willing to give up what you know to discover what you don't. See, I was having a conversation with Ariel today about religion. and how that gives us a set of rules to live by, depending on the religion we were raised in.
Mm.
And if you're not willing to give up those rules that the religion imposes upon you, then we're the wrong people to hang out with. Because if you find out that heaven exists right here and now, and you don't have to die first, well, that would be shocking to some people's system. And if you want to be right that you have to die first, well, party on, dude.
I don't know who I was talking to but about it recently, but how our time in Bali, Indonesia, when we built our conference center, was so radically shaking my internal reality, because
They had a different belief system.
the Hindu belief system, they would come with the flowers and the incense, and 3 times a day, Nyoman Marni, that was our partner's wife,
One of his wives.
that was already something like, whoa, would come and bless their little areas at the temple, the different temples around their home. And when they explained to me that they're not praying to the gods, but they are appeasing the evil spirits, that those, and they do these beautiful things, it was for the evil spirits to give them their due, so that they don't have to come tap you on the shoulder and go, hey, what about me? And when we were building and there was a little earthquake, and they were afraid some of the workers might have been injured, which thankfully they weren't. They were afraid they had not done enough appeasement to the evil spirits before building. And as I was talking with my friend about that, she got very upset that anybody would pray to evil spirits, because it was so counter the Christian subset that her mind was structured in.
The reality that she believed to be the way things are. See, you have to be willing, Dave, to discover life anew, newly. Like we all think we know what we know, and we do.
Yeah.
What if everything is in flux and it keeps rearranging newly in each moment? So you're not who you were simply by extension. Each moment is a moment of choice where you can be fully self-expressive or give yourself the reasons why you can't.
That's such a beautiful picture. The way you describe that, everything is in flux, just for me, just creates this visual kind of, I don't know, option of stepping into whatever is happening.
Yes, you can either step into what's happening or reject what's happening because it doesn't fit your point of view. But life is, see, look, you're not who you were a moment ago. There's a new moment. Each moment is an opportunity to discover life newly.
You talk about life being in flux, Shya, I get an image because you've recently been going down to the Jersey Shore a lot and fishing. First of all, it's uncontrollable, but you can check in and see which direction the wind is coming from and where the tide is in that cycle. You cannot like that it's low tide or high tide, but that doesn't change the fact that it's low or high tide, and it's in the midst of changing. It's never, ever static. We like to have things controlled and static.
Yep.
But
the room temperature is controlled by the thermostat.
Yeah.
Outside, it doesn't work that way.
as you're well aware.
And the house is always losing heat.
Yes.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you very much.
Hey, such a treat not only to be with you today, but really lovely that you stepped in last minute because our guest had some kind of belly bug And so we did not have the expectation of having the opportunity
To be with
to
you.
be with you, and it's been a real treat.
Same here. My pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know we have said this on other podcasts, but here it is. It's new. If you're enjoying this podcast, feel free to share it with folks. You can either share it by text or email, or you can go up and leave reviews on your favorite podcast app. Don't feel a pressure, but if you feel to, unharness that and share the wealth. What a great way to start the year. Ready for next week's podcast?
Yes.
Help me. I'm shrinking.
Or is that thinking?
We'll be back next week. So
Come on back and don't miss being here.